Hey everybody, welcome to our early comic review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that are releasing this week to your local comic book store. So if you shop with us at the store, or shop with us online at infinityflux.net, or shop at your own local comic book store, we're here to give you some of the information about some of these awesome books that are coming out and better prepare yourself for when you walk in and see that big old wall of comics and you fall to your knees in confusion and terror.
Which one do I buy? All of them is always
All
the
of
answer.
But we're here to do that. But if you want any of these and you shop with us, go ahead on over to infinityflux.net. These books are live right now while supplies last. Go ahead and order them, whether you shop in store or shop online and we get it mailed to you. Either way, that will assure that you get the books that you want. But like we said, while supplies last, because some of these are going to go very, very fast.
One of our variant covers for a book already sold out. I had it here ready to go, and then somebody else came in and said, oh, there was an order for that, so we had to give it up. So they go that fast.
They go that fast. So follow along, go to the website, check it out as we're talking about it. If you think it's for you, go ahead and click that button, and you'll be all set. But this is a really exciting week.
Yeah,
it's big, it's exciting, it's the caliber of the books are big. But I think the biggest thing about this one is I'm just really excited for kind of this next wave of books we're getting.
Yeah.
It does feel like we're kind of one of the first like official like 2026 like we've put some of the previous storylines from last year behind us and we're moving forward.
Yep. So we are going to start with one of those new books, which is Lobo #1. This is one of the 3 new next level books from DC that we're going to talk about today. This written by Scotty Young. The art is by Jorge Corona, a dynamic duo of a creative team there. And this is great. So this starts with a really funny scene of Lobo trying to park his bike at the Chug and Slug Space Pub. And it doesn't have anything to do with the overall story, but that scene helps establish the tone of what this book is going to be like. It's over the top and it's great. But Lobo goes to this pub because there is somebody there that he wants to take out a bounty, or there has a bounty on their head, and Lobo wants to collect that bounty. But as he grabs the person, come with me, he gets a call that, wait a minute, the guy who manages the bounties for Lobo, well, these big corporate fat cats came in and offered him a buku load of money for his business, so he sold his bounty business, which means that the bounty has been canceled. So Lobo's not happy about this. He wants his money because, he spent time tracking this guy down. So he actually travels to the company who bought the bounty business from the guy. And come to find out, they've actually bought the entire bounty industry because they realize how much money there is in it, and they're a big greedy corporation. They're like, any industry that's making money, we're going to buy them up so we can make money. And Lobo's not, he's not real happy about this. He's like, I just want to get bounties and collect my money. But the corporation makes him an offer that may be too good for him to refuse. So maybe he'll stick around for a while and do something. Well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's really good. This book is over the top. The artwork is great. There's some good action. Lobo is you love to hate him. He's very gruff around the edges. He's not like, he's rough, but he's got a heart of gold. No, this is Lobo, right?
This is equal parts mature and immature.
Right.
You do get a really cool kind of summation of his history.
Well, yeah, I was going to say this is a good jumping off point too. If you are a Lobo fan and you want a new book, you can get this. Or if you're brand new to Lobo, you can still get this because what you were saying, there's 2 double-page spreads that give you a nice Cliff Notes version of Lobo's history. And then by the time you get to the end of the book, you'll realize, oh, I get who Lobo is and what this book is going to be like.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. It definitely leans towards that like 90s Lobo, 80s, 90s Lobo style. It's gritty, but with Jorge Corona working on it, you'll see some of the craziest aliens and cyborg people and just the designs in this, every panel is chocked full
Oh yeah.
of stuff to look at, and it's all gross and grimy.
It's a
and
visual splendor. Like there's no humans in this.
No,
This is all in space, right? So yeah, there's Lobo is probably the closest to human.
I think the closest you see is in a flashback,
Right, right.
and you don't even see their face. It's
Yeah.
just like a certain part of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this I would say not for kids, but also it's not like mature,
Right.
but it is kind of just it's a little irreverent and over the top
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But like you would want a Lobo book to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's exactly the Lobo book I wanted. I remember, Lobo popped up in the was it the House of Brainiac story in Superman, and I remember us saying, "Oh man, I love him in this. Give me a Lobo book." Well, this is that, right?
Yeah.
This is that same Lobo. This is fantastic. So,
I think this is gonna be some people's new favorite book.
yeah,
Because it hits that sweet spot of almost like I Hate Fairyland.
right.
Of like, it's so over the top and like violent, but in the kind of hilarious way.
Yeah.
That it's gonna have a wide appeal.
Yeah, and it's not slapstick. There's humor in
No.
this, but it's not slapstick humor. It's appropriate for this book. And there is some action too. We do see Lobo. We see shells flying everywhere. Lobo dual wielding pistols and whatever. So
It's
there is
just
some,
over the top, like guns
Yeah.
that take up half the page.
right. Yeah.
and-
So there's all that kind of good stuff in it. So yeah, very exciting. Very 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 fun. And I always love to point out when a book is just really fun to read
Mhm.
because that's what comic books should be, is fun. And this is super duper fun. So I highly recommend it if you just want something just crazy, over the top, bombastic to read. This is it right here.
Yeah, this is a perfect creative team, and this is one of the books where they kept waiting for DC to say you can't do that,
Yeah.
and they never did, and they're kind of shocked that they got
Yeah.
to do as much as they did. So, yeah, this is a little bit of DC off of the leash.
Yeah, and this is that this goes to show how great DC editorial is right now, because we've heard from several different writers on these new books. There's been a few different writers who have at one point or another on the calls we're on with them. They have said, I kept waiting for DC to say no, we can't do that, and they never did. There's several books like that.
Yeah.
So DC is just letting these guys, within reason obviously, but DC is letting these guys tell the stories they want to tell, and it pays off. I mean, it pays off in droves because they're so much fun. So there is our A cover from Jorge Corona. So
And
that is,
looks a lot like what the inside
that's
looks
what
like.
the inside looks like for sure. But we got some great variants too. So this is that's a Lee Bermejo variant. That looks great.
With his Goku hair.
Yeah, this is the Kyung Eom variant with
Dog.
Dog. Yeah, Dog is in there.
Hey, that version is very like kind of what our Jason Momoa one's gonna look like.
Yep.
It's cool.
Yep. This is the Jorge Corona. I forget what they call these, but he's doing one of these for every book. This is the blank sketch variant, so you can draw your own Lobo. This
Draw
is
your own
the
Lobo, whatever you want it to look like.
that's the virgin foil version of the Lee Bermejo cover. And then we have the 1 in 25 Juan Ferreira cover that we're selling for $19.99.
Yeah, it's hard to pick out of this first wave of next level books, but I'll say I've probably had the biggest smile on my face while reading Lobo.
Yep.
And it kind of had the most like bounce to it. You know, it was easy to read and a lot of fun to read. But next up, we have our next of the next level books. This is Deathstroke the Terminator, #1. And I feel like that title is really specific. They picked that, Deathstroke the Terminator. Deathstroke has been through a lot of iterations over the past probably 15 years, from, where he was in New Teen Titans with like the Judas contract. I know that wasn't within 15 years, but then all the way up to like New 52 where they tried to change him and all this.
Yeah.
This feels like the most back to basics version of Deathstroke, but with kind of the baggage of everything that came along. He's not like a fresh young Deathstroke. He's not a young handsome man.
He was always an older guy, but he's starting to feel it in this a little bit.
And I kind of like that for this version of the character. So this is by Tony Fleeks, and the art is by Carmine Di Giandomenico. And this is the most action movie, like John Wick, summer blockbuster, probably book that DC has coming out right now. So in this, we have Slade, who is on a mission. We start right in the middle of the action. He's got Wintergreen, his kind of guy in the chair, in his ear the whole time, talking to him about this job that he got. Because in this is Deathstroke as a assassin. This is him as a Terminator. He is an unstoppable, killing machine, basically. If he puts his mind on it, nothing is going to stop him from getting there. But this job he's on is a little bit different because he doesn't have a whole lot of information about it. He knows that this corporation or whatever this thing he's at, there was a whistleblower that he was hired to take out, but he doesn't know who hired him, and he doesn't have a picture of who he's going after.
Yeah.
He just has kind of a description and stuff, but
Yeah, he's flying blind pretty much. Somebody hired him to kill this whistleblower. Who did it? Don't know. What's he look like? Don't know.
yeah, Deathstroke, that's all you really need.
Yeah.
He can work with that.
Well, plus they charge a little bit higher of a price for those
Yeah.
kind of jobs too. So it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't feel great about it, but I'm getting paid. And
The only thing that is, they said, we want you to do this quietly, and he basically says, yeah,
Nah.
not my style.
Yeah.
And that leads to an issue that is almost non-stop action as Deathstroke is breaking into this place, and it's full of armed security and everything, but nothing can stand in Deathstroke's way. Now, there is a kind of, I don't want to say it's a subplot, it's not even that big, but it is kind of a running thing through the entire thing, because he does have a daughter, which is Rose Ravenger, who's been on the Titans before and everything. And this is not a happy story for Deathstroke. This is not a, boy, isn't my life great and I've got a happy family. No, even this kind of running narration is pretty dark for him. But all of this is leading up to what I think is going to be the big story in here, is when he finally gets to his target. And I won't say anything else, but I think that's where you're going to really see Deathstroke the Terminator come into play, as maybe something happens and it's kind of like the gloves are off. Nothing is going to be able to stop him now from getting either revenge or whatever he's seeking at the end of this. So it's a setup issue, but still a action-packed, super fun issue.
Yeah, that's one of the notes I made about, we talked about it before. A lot of number ones these days are setup issues. And really, it's the number two issues where the real meat and potatoes are, right? And that's this, right? This is setting up the story, but this also, it gives us a setup while still giving us a bunch of action, which a lot of books don't these days, right? Usually it's like the second issue before you really see the action and the fighting and stuff, but this has both. It sets up the story, but the whole time Deathstroke's like shooting guys and things like that. So.
Yeah, it is very John Wick of just like room to room.
Yeah.
How do I take out all these people and everything? So it's not like, oh, calm before the storm. It's a storm leading into probably a bigger storm.
Giant storm. Oh yeah, the ending is going to be the driving force behind this main first story, but it's like Goku's strong, but then he goes Super Saiyan, right? Well, that's this is like he's a tough guy, but then he's gonna get even tougher or something. You know what I mean? If that's a good explanation.
Yeah. So this was a great issue, a great beginning to a new series. This is not a good guy Deathstroke. This is not a big redemption arc for him. This is more of probably a revenge arc. Yeah. More than anything.
And I had to think long and hard about these three books, this one included, about which one I like the best. If I had to pick, this is my pick of the week. I like Deathstroke just a little bit. I don't even want to say I liked it more than Lobo.
I think they're for different, this is more of the stories that I tend to go for, but they're all equally done well.
Oh, yeah, they're all fantastic, but Deathstroke is a little bit more my type of story. It gave me a little bit, I've been wanting a Deathstroke book for a long time, and we finally got one, and it's the Deathstroke that I want. It's not the anti-hero with a heart of gold. It's, oh no, he's an assassin and he will kill you.
Yeah, if this version went up against the Titans, I would be really worried for the Titans.
Oh yeah.
Because this is a darker version of Deathstroke.
Yeah, so this was my pick of the week, narrowly beating out a handful of others, but
yeah. Again, I want to point out the art by Di Giandomenico.
Yep.
The best work of his career.
I think so too.
There's a 2-page spread, and it's not even a spoiler. It's Deathstroke sitting on top of a building.
Yeah,
I think it is beautiful.
Yeah, that's been released online officially already. Yeah. Most of the 2-page spread is just a a cityscape.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Deathstroke's over here on a building, right? But it's gorgeous. I wrote down that some of the panels in this look like they could have been a still from a movie.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Or at least like everything except for Deathstroke looks like it could have been a still.
Yeah.
And then so it's almost like, oh, that looks live action, and then you've got your drawing, which looks really cool too. Like it's that good. It's crisp, and this is probably the best I've seen him do.
Yeah. So we could gush on
Yeah.
all of these books
It's
for
great.
a long
It's
time.
really, really great.
But let's go over some of the variants. So this is the one I got. And yeah, this is also a funny thing is like we talk about all these books, we've read all these books, but we don't always talk about like which ones like we personally buy.
Yeah.
I'm getting all of these.
Yes, me too.
All these first three,
Me too,
actually
yeah.
these first 4 books we're talking about or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm getting all of them. So here is the Dan Panosian cover. And what I love is I think a lot of these variant cover artists are the variant cover artists for the foreseeable future. So you can kind of pick a lane and be like, I'm going to get all of this artists. So I know there's a Dan Panosian for the next one, but this one's really cool. We got a Kyung Eum
That's the one I
cover.
pre-ordered.
Yeah, very cool in there.
Somebody said it looks like he gutted Storm Shadow.
You know what? I would watch that.
I would read
That's
that.
really cool.
Crazy.
We have the Jorge Corona, who's doing, like we said, all the #1s in this style.
Mm-hmm.
We have a foil version of the Dan Panosian. We've got a, of course, blank sketch cover, or Deathstroke in the snow, if you will. And then lastly, we have a 1 in 25 Tony Fleecs cover, which is really fun because that's your writer, but of course he's an artist as well. So we're selling this one for $19.99.
Yeah, I was very, very happy after I read this. And, we read it a few weeks ago. I read it again this weekend and, got to that ending and I was like, oh, man. Now, I will say real quick that there is one big question I have about it that I think will get answered in the next issue. But
yeah, I think you're supposed to have that question.
Yeah. Here's that.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's gush about another one. This is Batwoman #1. So this is the not in quality wise, but this is just numerically, this is the last of the 3 new next level books that we're talking about this week. This one being from Greg Rucka and Danny. So Greg Rucka returning to Batwoman, which is really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight to him coming back to Batwoman. He had a story he never got to finish because kind of some butting heads with DC, kind of old DC editorial, and he's finally back. And I feel like this is going to be really good because this is something he's been wanting to do.
And we heard him talk about this too, and he's been vocal about not always seeing eye to eye with DC editorial, but we were on a call with him about this a few weeks ago, and he talked about how much he's enjoying it right now and how things are different, and he's really enjoying doing this. So, and I like to point that out because I feel like when the writers and the artists and everything feel like they're in a good spot, I feel like that only makes the books even better.
You get the best product.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this story is set in Greece, and it starts with Kate Kane in a sanatorium. She's being treated for what looks like depression or maybe some kind of other mental ailment after a devastating encounter with her sister Beth, who Kate, as Batwoman, she was trying to stop her twin sister Beth from doing something terrible. So a lot of this issue is a flashback to what happened, what caused her to be here. And I don't want to tell you what it was or how it all played out. But again, she's in a sanatorium afterwards, so you can kind of get an idea about how it went for her. But I don't think things are going to stay quiet for her for long because there's some we don't know much about them yet, but there's some kind of like clandestine group that knows where Kate Kane is. And they even have people there on the inside of the sanatorium keeping an eye on her. So they're tracking her basically. We've already read the second issue as well, and we get a little bit more information about them, and we see a little bit more of that in that second issue. But yeah, so like I said, most of this book is a flashback to this big event that caused her to go to this place in Greece.
Great action scenes.
Yeah, some good action. This is a good start to a new Batwoman book. So Batwoman fans out there, I think you're going to be really happy with this. I did see a couple comments where people thought, why is she in therapy is what they said, why is she in therapy? She shouldn't be there. But this book explains all
Yeah.
that. So it's not like, oh, I've got to figure out why. No, this book explains everything about why things are the way they are right now. Um, this doesn't, it's a good jumping on point for the readers because it doesn't really give you much of, um, Batwoman. Well, it doesn't give you much of Batwoman's history like Lobo does, but it also doesn't reference a whole lot of stories that came before.
Her sister has been in it before,
right?
During
but
his previous run, but it's not like, oh, I had to have read that.
That's what I was trying to say. Is like I feel like you don't have to, when you read this, you're like, oh shoot, I really should have read the last 14 runs of Batwoman before this. You don't feel that way. You might want to go back later and catch up, but you don't need that for this. I did like. I have a note here that I really, really enjoyed this issue. I liked the second one a little bit more.
The ending of this one's crazy. The ending of the second one is even crazier, and it's kind of one of those like, I don't know where we go next.
Yeah,
because of that.
I will say the ending of this one is cold in a good way. Like I read this and I was like, whoa, that's a really like awesome moment for Batwoman. So a great start to Batwoman. Like all three of these, like we said, they're all home runs,
and they do fit kind of some people, like if you just love comics, you love these characters, you'll love it. But they do each kind of have, like I said, kind of like a branch on a tree that's perfect for somebody. And this one definitely leans more serious, more like
it's a little bit more like street level, a little bit more gritty, a little bit darker, even compared to Deathstroke. This is probably a little bit on the darker side.
Danny, the artist, is really cool because she lives in Greece, or she's from Greece.
That's right, yeah.
And so the story's set there, so like it's super accurate. You're getting. I'm guessing that Greg Rucka kind of set it there because of her.
Yeah.
But it's also a setting that you just don't see a lot in comics,
right? And
it looks really cool. So
it's not Gotham City, right?
It's not Gotham. So the leaping over the rooftops and stuff has a different look to it. It's very moody with the style. It's a very like you see on the cover, like pops of color, but most of it's muted. It's just really cool, and it fits with a very unique branch of DC now that I feel like is getting more and more defined with each new series.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention too, like the artwork in here, it's not the kind of artwork I normally gravitate towards. It's a little bit rougher around the edges than what usually falls in my preference, but it works.
Yeah,
it works for this story. The story is so good. It still like kept me invested. Like. So yeah, normally, like if this had been maybe like a Superman book, maybe I would have been like, I'm not really sure if it, but it fits. And we've talked about it before, how some artists, their style works better for some types of stories and characters than others. And this, like, it all works well together. Yeah. So even though it's not my usual style, I was into it. I was into it for this.
All these new Next Level books feel handcrafted.
Yeah.
Of like these teams doing these books are the correct fit for the. You don't feel like any of them is miscast at all. These are kind of the books they're meant to do.
Yeah, so DC so far is 3 for 3 on the Next Level books. Firestorm is the next one, comes out April 1st. We've read that. We love that as well. So just DC just killing the game right now. So that is your A cover right there. And there's some really nice variants for this one. Let me get them out here. This actually probably had my favorite batch of variants out of the three, though. So this is the Stepan Sajic. So that's the one I pre-ordered.
That's the one I pre-ordered.
That is gorgeous.
And he's doing them for at least the first few issues because I've already pre-ordered the second one for that as well.
This is the Art Germ.
Art Germ.
Variant
doing a very different thing. It's not super rendered.
Yeah, I had to look at that.
It's almost like a flat color, and I really like how it looks.
There is a foil version of this, but right before we started the show, that we sold it online, so we don't have it anymore. This is the Jorge Corona cover, which actually I don't know how many we have, but we're on TikTok right now. Somebody just bought this one too, so that's awesome. So we'll have to see if we have more of those. We have the blank sketch variant right here. And we have the 1 in 25. This is the Swaby cover. We're selling for $19.99. Yeah, good job, DC. 3 for 3 on these new books.
Batwoman maybe has one of my favorite costumes in DC. I think she has such a like perfect uh, like Batman, but like boiled down to the basics of the shapes and the colors.
Plus, I like black and red. I think
Yeah.
black and red together is really cool, and it's more. I love the reds,
I don't,
the red symbol. Like Red Hood used to have the red.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
I don't know if there's been a Batwoman series too that has not been really good.
Yeah.
Especially with Rucka now, it's great. Well, continue on with one of my favorite series coming out, returning to comic book stores. This is Invincible Universe Battle Beast #7. So, Robert Kirkman, Ryan Ottley back, the same creative team that did the first 6 issues. They did a 5-month kind of hiatus. The last issue came out in October of last year, but that's okay because if that's what it means that we get kind of uninterrupted monthly comics by the same creative team, I think that's great.
I would be okay if every publisher did that. It's like, hey, we're, if that kept the books consistent, the story consistent, the artwork consistent, you got to take a couple breaks, a couple months off to do it. Fine, there's plenty of other stuff to read. And I feel like it builds excitement. Like, I think everybody's excited for this to come back, and I don't think it kills the momentum. I think it's like a new season of TV. Oh, I can't wait for the new season to come out. I can't wait for Battle Beast to come back, right? So
and this is kind of considered Invincible month. The show starts on Wednesday with season 4. The game comes out early April, so we've got all the Invincible variant covers that are going with all the other series. So this is a great time to be an Invincible fan, and this is just as good as any of the other Battle Beast series. Now, this doesn't really start a new story arc, because it's
a little bit of an in-between.
It's a little bit of in-between. Now, we had Battle Beast going up against the Juggernaut and the Colossus, which are, yes, 2 X-Men characters as well. But, spoiler alert, if you didn't read from 5 months ago, they weren't defeated. Battle Beast pretty much got his butt handed to him. He is super damaged.
Yeah, right.
And this begins with Battle Beast and Prince Salaka, who we've been following this, along with the ship's computer that is now in the former body of Prince Salaka, which is kind of like a robot mech suit thing. They're separated as Battle Beast is unconscious, riding on the back of this beast, looking for help. A lot of this issue does focus on Prince Salaka and the ship's computer and what has happened since then. We'll say that we know that the prince has a regeneration ability, and maybe that's kicked into high gear. Now, this has, we've talked about this since we first saw the page. We read this issue, feels like, 2 months ago? Something like that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We read this quite a while ago, and there is a second page in this that something you have not seen in any Invincible book.
Page 2, panel 1.
Page 2, panel 1, and the words "Gadzooks" are very key to this.
Yep.
You will never be able to unsee it. This is the one that when we were on the retailer call with Robert Kirkman, when they brought it up, he had to laugh first before he could talk about it.
He was cracking himself up. He's like, I was the one who wrote this, and I still laugh every time I see it. Yeah.
So it is crazy. It is a lot like Invincible or whatever. You never know what you're gonna see next.
And it has nothing to do with the overall story. It's just one panel, but it's hilarious. It's so funny.
So also there's big developments for the ship's computer. We're kind of building our cast of characters by this point, and you'll see why once you read it. There's not a ton of action in here, but it is setting up something big that is coming.
Setting up a couple of big things.
Yeah, I want to say, one of the big reveals from the last issue 5 months ago was we saw Thrag, and he was basically saying we need conquest. So these are very big characters in the Invincible side of the universe, and that story is continued here. And it's really cool seeing a side of the Viltrumites that we have not seen in Invincible. We've never really spotlighted them without the POV of Invincible or
right?
one of the characters. You actually kind of see the Viltrumites, following them and some of their worlds that they visit and stuff. And we know that's going to be a big part of this coming up is the Viltrumites. And I can only guess we're going to get to another Battle Beast versus them fight. But, there's continuation on the story with the Juggernaut and the Colossus that were from the previous thing. Some other returning characters from the previous story, previous 6 issues. So this is great. This is slipping back into the story is going to be great. And because they did take that break, you're going to get every issue on time.
Yeah.
For the next
For the next
months.
Yeah, for the next arc.
For the
Yeah,
next
it's gonna be
arc,
consistent. Yeah.
Up until issue 11, I think is the
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that 5 issues? Is it 6 or 5 issues?
I think in the back of it, Kirkman said he's currently working on 11. So I'm not sure if it's like I think maybe 6 issue arcs. So we'll probably get that, and then they'll take another break. But get back into it. It's going to be great, and continues on with this great issue. So tons of fun, and everybody's going to be talking about that second page and a panel a little bit later where it admires something else.
Yeah.
But this is great. So much fun. That cover kind of happens. Like, it's not looking good for Battle Beast. There is your A cover. Again, I got to point out Ryan Otley's my favorite artist in comics, and doing, again, some of the best work of his career in here. I think, there's some iconic shots. There's just...
Yeah, I think what he's done on this whole series so far is the best work that he's ever done.
Yeah, you can tell everyone working on it's having a blast. So there is your A cover. We've got some big covers.
I hope you pre-ordered this one if you want it.
It's going fast. The Todd McFarlane cover.
I pre-ordered that one.
You got the Todd father back drawing a cover, this time his version of Battle Beast. We had almost as many pre-orders for this as we did the A cover. Like, this is huge.
Kind of wish I'd pre-ordered 2.
I know.
I only got the 1, but I wish I'd done 2.
Let's just say this week my pull box is like 1/3 just Invincible Battle Beast covers. So here is that one. Make sure you go ahead and order this while supplies last.
I don't think those will last past Wednesday. So if you do want one, I think we do still have some as of right now.
Yeah.
If you want it,
nobody's ripped them out of our hands.
Yeah. If you want it, probably go ahead and order it on the website right now, because they'll be gone probably by the end of the day Wednesday. I think, or is there a bunch of them out there? I don't know.
It's a lot less than what we started out with.
Okay.
Next up, we have some incentives. We have a 1 in 10. This is a, I think it's an Eric Burnham variant with Thrag and Battle Beast. We're selling that one for $7.99. That's the thing about Battle Beast. They don't do too many just regular variants, but they do kind of some like lower tier incentives. Let's see. I gotta look at the back of. It's also nice because they list the variant cover artists on the back. So we have, this is the Rossi Guilford cover. It's a 1 in 25. We're selling for $14.99. This one's really good. This is the Edwin Gallman variant. This is a 1 in 50. We're selling for $29.99. Here's a big one.
Oh.
This is, of course, the black and white version of the Todd McFarlane cover. This is a 1 in 75. We're selling for $89.99. There is, which I didn't know this was going to be foil. This is the Matthew Roberts cover. I believe this is a 1 in 100. It's foil, and we're selling it for $94.99. It's really nice.
Is there one of those Invincible team-up covers?
There is. We only had one copy left, so I did not take it to show off.
I thought there was one, but yeah.
But you might be able to catch it on the website before it's completely gone.
So that one, we have one of those too, but we didn't.
There's also some really nice second and third printings of previous Battle Beast issues with great covers, some Ryan Otley covers, all of that. So check the website to see those as well.
Yeah, we saw those just as we were pulling these together, and yeah, some great covers for the reprints of some of the other ones. So yeah, definitely go on the website. You'll see all of those. Okay. Moving on, we've got Dead Teenagers #1. This is from Oni Press, and this is written by Jude Ellison S. Doyle. The art is by Caitlin Yarsky. So, to get your head in the mind space of this, what this is about, think about the movie Groundhog Day, where Bill Murray is repeating the same day over and over and over, okay? Because that's it. This is a time loop like that. However, this is a little different. So, it's about these 4 teenagers named Alicia, Brandy, Ryder, and JT. They are forced to relive their prom night from 1997 over and over and over again.
We don't really know how many times they've done it so far.
Well, it's it was like 11,000. It said
okay,
the number.
oh yeah, it does. It keeps a tally.
Yeah, so they had to do this around 11,000 times.
Yeah.
It said. And so, Groundhog Day, Bill Murray, he goes to sleep and he wakes up and it's the same day again, right? Well, not in this book. In this book, the kids go to their prom, and while they're at their prom, they are killed in horrific ways, a different way every time. So that's where this is a little bit different.
And they kind of know it's coming.
They know it's coming.
They become kind of passive about it.
Yeah, they know it's coming, but they don't know how, and it's different every time.
But it's usually the people in the same order, which
right.
is kind of funny, too.
Yeah. So, for example, one time there's a giant lizard that just
like a big iguana
tramples all over their gymnasium and eats everybody, right? One time there's a giant meteor that crash lands on their gymnasium and kills everybody. One time it's a virus. One time
it's like a zombie virus.
Zombies,
but it's like, it goes from anywhere from like fairly mundane to just the most outrageous things. And they kind of talk about it the next time around of like, well, that was weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They do remember it, right? Yeah. They retain their memory of this, and so basically they're trying to break the cycle, right? And again, they've done it 11,000 times or whatever, and the result is always the same. They always die until, and this is not a spoiler because this is what the story is about. It's the same every time. They repeat every day over and over again until they don't. Until they do break out of this time loop. We don't really understand how or why, and they don't know
something
either, I don't think.
a little bit different happens.
Yeah.
That's never happened in all the times before, and it almost like that kind of like trick something, and it goes in a different path.
Yeah, and again, that's not a spoiler because that's what the overall story is about. Is they were stuck in this loop, but then they weren't. But then the story for the next several issues is going to become what do they find outside of the loop? Where did what happens afterwards, and what caused it? What does it mean? Is it good?
Are they even still in the loop?
Yeah.
There's kind of a mystery behind, like, did we get out, or is this still part of it?
So you will, after the end of this issue, you'll definitely have lots of questions, and you're supposed to. We're not supposed to have all the answers yet. But, the big story is we were stuck in a time loop, but now we're not. How did we get out? What does this mean for us? Is it better or worse that we're out of it? We don't know. It could be, maybe they're like, oh, shoot, we'd rather be back in the time loop. We don't know. But, a very cool new, indie story. It is not like anything I've read before. It's a little bit like, it's a little bit like Titans, actually, that you're going to talk about in a second.
Very similar.
There's a similar concept there. But, cool new. And I think this is the next indie #1 to blow up?
So this one, I believe we have this at one per customer, and I'm not sure if it's on the website right now. Just to maintain the ordering frenzy. But you can email us or whatever if you are interested in this. This about Friday started to be the one that was the rumblings of something. The next thing.
It's we never can tell. This is just the next one that's blowing up.
And I'll say, when I flipped through this initially, I was like, I don't know if I love the art. It's pretty bright and pretty clean.
Yeah.
But once I started reading this, I was pretty hooked on it. I thought this was super interesting.
Yeah, I was totally into this. So I want to read the rest of the series to find out, to get answers to all the questions. Yeah. Because we do have lots of questions.
It does almost feel like an old Vertigo book, which I really like too.
There's our A cover right there, and then we have a couple of incentives. This is the 1 in 10 virgin version of the A cover right there. We're selling that one for $29.99, and then we have a 1 in 20. Well, not a 125, 1 in 20. Shoot, I don't have the. Oh, this is the Stein cover, the 1 in 20. We're selling that one for $49.99. That's those are your characters right there. Those are your teenagers that are going through this.
Well, next up, one that I really enjoyed, and is very different for a Titans book. This is New Titans 33. Now, just like how Aquaman changed its title to Emperor Aquaman, but the numbering didn't change, that is what this is. This is the Titan series with a fresh coat of paint as New Titans, but the difference in this one is this is a new creative team. So this is kind of back to, this is maybe the best example of the olden days of comics where, you would talk about, Claremont's run took over at this number to this number or whatever, and they didn't do a new number one. This is, now you can be like, oh, Tate Bromble's series took over with issue 33.
Yeah. Basically, if this had been Marvel, this would be a new number one.
Yeah. But I hope this sets a trend because I actually really like this. I like the higher number books. It shows stability for the book. It shows kind of Todd McFarlane always talked about like it's kind of a badge to wear like these high number books that look at what we've done.
Right.
So this is great. I love that they're doing this. But like I said, this is a new creative team of Tate Bromble, who's been doing an amazing job over on Batgirl, and the artist by Sammy Bassery. And I really like this. So I was already intrigued with this because one of my favorite DC characters is Stephanie Brown. You can see she is on the cover. And I kind of went into this being like, oh, we're going to get like this new team of Titans in here. Well, there's a little bit more to this than kind of meets the eye. This almost feels like a Twilight Zone episode, and I don't want to give away the twist in it, but you'll start to uncover it as you go. So in this, we've got all the Titans back together after DCKO. They don't really mention DCKO, but they were separated for that, and they're back together. And, the Titans, more than any other group in the DC universe, are the closest to a family.
Yeah.
They are very close-knit. And this is your traditional new Titans team. So this is Raven and Starfire and Beast Boy and Dick Grayson and Cyborg. This is that team, kind of the Wolfman Perez team. And before I get into the story, I'll say what I really liked about this. It points out what I've thought is kind of a flaw with Titans for many years.
Yeah, we talked about this amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
About, it's like, oh, it's always
Yeah, and it uses that, and it's kind of like reassuring that it's like, oh, they know this exists too, and they're playing with this idea because in this, it's very bright and cheerful, very superhero-y as the Titans begin their day. Nightwing makes a cup of coffee, gives everybody coffee, and they're getting ready to start their day. And they're laughing and joking. And then, oh no, somebody broke in the window. It's the Fearsome Five. They are quickly handled by the Titans, who have a big laugh. And we're like, man, we love each other. And then the next day happens, and it's the same thing again.
It's almost like there should be a studio audience, or maybe like some kind of laugh track or something.
Yeah, it does feel very just like.
And it should close on it closes. Like a circle comes in and black screen.
Yeah, or they like freeze mid scene. And the next day comes, and they're starting their day, and then oh no, Trigon is attacking, and kind of that plays into my thing that I've always like. I love the Titans. But it seems like with the Titans, once the Wolfman Perez run was over, everyone just wanted to do that again.
Yeah, it's always Trigon, it's always Raven.
It's always Terra.
Yeah.
And they bring Terra into this. It's always the Fearsome Five. It's these same things over and over. And they play with this. It's like day in, day out, the Titans face the same thing. They always beat them, and they always are a big old family in the end. Well, maybe there's something to that that's a little bit weird, and that is what plays into this, where maybe Nightwing starts to notice this trend, and that's where it kind of all breaks down. Now, this is really fun. What I do like is, as this time goes, things do change a little bit. Did you notice that like their costumes change?
Yes, I did notice. That was cool.
It's like that's the new 52 Titans costumes, and that's the and that's a really interesting part of this too. I always love when they reference like the costume changes over time and relationships. At one point, Raven and Beast Boy are in a relationship. The next thing, they're like, "I don't love you anymore," and then the next panel's like, we love each other. And it plays with those like reoccurring Titans tropes that we've all become so accustomed to, but maybe that will break, and what will break it and how, we'll have to keep reading to see. But I think this is a great jumping on point. You really don't, if you know the Titans, you know that team, you can jump in right here. Now what's up with this other team of heroes? That is part of it, but you'll have to read it to find out. Again, this is one of those, like, the next issue, I think we're really going to start
Yep.
getting into that. But I think this is a great, kind of weird first issue with issue 33. Not weird in like, oh, I didn't understand that, but kind of it's a very cool structure to the story. So highly
Wait, is it
recommend.
33 or 31?
It's 33.
Oh.
Yep. So highly recommend jumping on board with Titans, with New Titans number 33, and you'll have a blast with it like I did. So we've got our A cover here. We have a Stephen Byrne cover that's great with Nightwing and Starfire. We have a Lyrics Raven cover. We've got this really nice foil corner box art variant. This is by Sammy Bastry. This is your interior artist. And that is all I got for that one.
Okie dokie. Well,
We also know, I looked ahead, there's that, like, things to come variant for an
Yeah.
upcoming issue. There's something weird going on with Cyborg that we saw
Yeah.
set up at the end
Mhm.
of DCKO. So I think New Titans is going to be a really interesting book going forward.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, we've got Superman Unlimited number 11, and this is the start of a new story arc as well. In this, there is this fourth dimensional demon named Mr. Tixes. It's TXYZ, so it's like Mr. Mxyzptlk, but not as long. So Mr. Tixes, he pops up out of nowhere in front of John Kent, and he claims to be John Kent's greatest enemy that he's ever had. But
And he kind
John
of looks like a little chupacabra.
Yeah.
He's not like an elf like Batmite or
Yeah.
anything. He's kind of a monster.
But John has never met him before. And so Mr. Tixes explains that he controls time and he is coming back to our present day to try to destroy John Kent before they ever meet in the first place. And in this issue, there is a lot of timey-wimey stuff. They go forwards in time and backwards in time, and they're fighting each other. And Mr. Tixes is trying to convince John. He's trying to get in his head. And, they'll go to the future and say, you don't leave anywhere near as big of a legacy as your dad does. Here's all your dad's statues.
The gold statue of Superman.
Where are your statues? That kind of thing. And so he's trying to like, mess with John a little bit in order to, I don't know, maybe in a way to beat him or maybe
break him.
Yeah, break him or maybe unmotivate him to be a hero, that kind of thing. And so that's a lot of the issue, is just all this back and forth. There is something that happens at the end that, again, I think we're going to see that play out in the next issue. That's where the real bread and butter is going to come from. But I don't want to tell you what that is. I will say that this cover is relevant. I'll say that much. And I do think this is the first appearance of Mr. Tixes.
Yeah.
I think. And I will go ahead and tell you that, we do see this guy. I won't tell you anything about him, but we do see this guy. And it's the first time we've seen this guy, right? Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, they don't leave, there's the mystery, there's some mystery in it, but not kind of the ones you wonder about. Like, a lot of this is explained.
Right.
Like, even like where the costume comes from.
Yeah, because this guy's been showing up on a lot of covers and stuff, and we're like, who the heck is that guy?
Yeah.
You find out in this. I mean, you don't have to. They don't leave you wondering long. You do find out in this, but I don't want to ruin it for you.
The beginning of this is kind of a dark version of like A Christmas Carol, as John is being shown, like you said, like the past and the future. Like, I think they go all the way back to like, primordial times and everything.
Yeah.
But it feels very like kind of whiplash. Like they go from one to the next, and John's still fighting back of like, no, like what I do matters. I'm not doing this for the glory, all of that. But it's and then when you hit kind of halfway point, then it's like, whoa, this is, we're dealing with something new here.
Yeah, and this may go into some pretty crazy places for John Kent as this story arc goes on. But
maybe one of the like most character, maybe one of the biggest arcs he's going to go on is in this, since he got aged up.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
probably. I'd say so,
because it feels pretty significant. So I'm very excited for this book is going to go.
Yeah, so again, this cover is relevant though, and we'll learn more next issue, I guess. But really good, like a good new story arc too. Superman Unlimited. Superman's gone after the tournament, but we've got plenty of super characters to fill these pages.
Really good art too.
Yeah, oh yeah. So that is our A cover right there, and there's some nice variants. This is the connecting variant from ACO. There's several of these across the various super books. Is this Lucas Meyer?
No,
No,
that's
this is Bruno Redondo.
Redondo.
Yeah, that's Bruno
That's the
Redondo.
one I got.
And again, you do find out who this is, so you don't have to wait long to find out. I love this one, even though it has nothing to do with this
Yeah,
story.
Steel nor Lana
Yeah,
Langer in
this
this.
is the Rochester Lynn cover. I love it, but neither of these characters are in this. This is really nice. This is that.
That's
That's
Perio.
yeah, Perio cover with your new character. And then this is the Lucas Meyer. That is Lucas Meyer, right?
Yeah.
Quarter box foil variant with this character who you will meet in this issue.
Every time we get a character design like this, I'm like, oh, McFarlane, can you put this out before
Yeah.
you lose the rights
Hurry
to
and
do
make this character. Yeah.
You did the Superman Batman
Fusion,
mashup
yeah.
character. Now you got to do this one because these are such great designs. Well, next up for me is there's a new one from Marvel. This is the Sentry #1. So people probably familiar with the Sentry since he's been in the Thunderbolts movie, but of course he goes back. It has a very interesting backstory with back in like the early to mid 2000, I guess what 2005 maybe.
Yeah, mid 2000s.
Where he had this whole like made up like, oh, he's this old character that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby invented back in the day, even though that wasn't true. And a really interesting thing. But one of the kind of architects of the Century was Paul Jenkins, who wrote a lot of that original, like the mini series and all of that. Well, Paul Jenkins is back to tell a new story about the Century here with artist Christian Rosado. And I would say this is if you're familiar with the Century, this kind of treads some very familiar ground. You know, you've got the Century. He's this very like Superman style character. He's very strong, flies, all of that. You know, his on the regular day he's Bob Reynolds, but he can turn to the superhero. But the difference is he has a dark side, and that's the Void. And the Void is kind of this like yin and yang of the Century. This for everything good the Century does, the Void does something bad, and that's what this plays off of a lot. So, um, we I will say it's kind of hard to know when this takes place.
It is, and that really threw me for a loop. I didn't know, does this take place in current day Marvel, or does it take place back in the time of New Avengers when Sentry was on the team? It seems like it does, but it never tells us, so we don't know.
Yeah, because you do see the Avengers. There's actually like a Avengers press conference in this, and it's a Captain Marvel, but also Spider-Man and Reed Richards
and Sue Storm is
and
there.
Sue Storm. It's a very like, well, they're not together in any of the current stuff,
right?
So it is a little weird to. It's not like you really need to know when this takes place.
It doesn't really matter.
But a lot of it is just focused on Bob Reynolds, the Century.
He does have the weird spire on top of a tower in New York. I don't know if that's Avengers Tower, you know, like he used to back in the day of New Avengers. But I still don't know, is that happening now? Is it happening back then? I have no idea.
So there's not a whole lot to say about this in terms of ongoing story. You see a lot of the Sentry trying to do really good stuff. He's teamed up with the Avengers. You know, they're trying to rescue ships from a big storm that's coming, or you know, he fighting things. Just the Sentry being basically an Avenger. But that's interspersed with scenes of the Void, which this version of the Void is a lot more like the movie version. That's more like shaped like the Sentry.
Yeah, he's got the beady white eyes. You know.
Yeah. Whereas the old one was kind of almost amorphous. Like occasionally you'd see a shape, or but he could be like more monstrous or whatever. This one definitely looks like almost like a negative space version of the Sentry. But it seems like for every good thing the Sentry does, the Void does something terrible. And in this, it talks about like those scales are usually pretty even, but it seems like the Void is starting to become more powerful and tipping the scale towards this darkness. As the Sentry tries to do therapy, tries to do all these things to fix it, but is that going to work out? There's some really interesting stuff in here with Kingpin, Just
Right?
briefly.
Yeah.
There is some kind of cameos in here that are really fun. It's weird seeing the Sentry as like a Hell's Kitchen
Yeah.
vigilante style character because it's like that seems kind of like small fries for him who's like this cosmic level character, but it's really interesting. The art definitely leans on the darker side, the more realistic, scratchy, all that kind of style to really show off the void. If you're a fan of the character, I think you'll like this. It hasn't, at least in the first issue, hasn't broken any new ground for the character, but it does kind of get you caught back up with the character and reminding you of the different aspects of this character. I really did like the guest appearances by the Avengers and
Yeah.
Spider-Man. That was really fun. So we'll see where this goes. I believe this is just a mini series. But yeah, maybe we'll discover kind of where this fits in the amorphous timeline
Yeah.
of the Marvel universe in newer issues. But we've got our A cover right here. We've got this. This is the Kafu variant. We've got a Jay Lee variant with his like old school look where he
Yeah.
had the full like head sock uh, style. I like that one. We've got this 1 in 25 CF Villa cover selling for $14.99. That gives me more vibes of the Jeff Lemire miniseries by Riley Jacinto, I think, did the art in that from a few years ago. So, uh, pretty interesting one there. If you're looking for a new Marvel #1, that's a good one to jump into.
Yep. All right. Well, I've got a Marvel #2. And that's Marc Spector Moon Knight #2. I actually don't have a whole lot to say about this issue because most of this issue is Moon Knight fighting back against all of his captors, right? So in the first issue, he was taken captive, and he was drugged a little bit, and the bad guys who captured him, try not to spoil who it is, but they set up this big warehouse and made him think that he was a male a male
Model.
male. No, he worked in the mailroom at a big corporation.
Mailman.
They had a fake apartment for him, and he didn't know anything about he didn't know that he was Moon Knight or anything. And then Zodiac of all people comes in and helps him regain his memory, gives him his costume back. And in this issue, and so the first issue had no action. This issue makes up for that, right? Now that Moon Knight has his memory back and he's got his mask and his cowl, he is none too pleased that he was taken captive. And holy cow, this issue is almost the whole thing is just him tearing through henchmen and working his way to the main bad guy and that kind of thing. Now, we do learn something about the main bad guy who captured him that we saw last issue. We learned something about him in this issue, which is really cool too. But it's just another awesome action-packed issue of Moon Knight. For 5 years running, Jed MacKay's Moon Knight has been Marvel's most underrated book. And not enough people are reading this, but it's so good. The artwork by Devmaya Promanik is insane. This was very exciting. I believe this is my number 3 pick of the week, or no, this is my number 2 pick of the week, and then Lobo's right behind this one, and then Deathstroke is right above this one. It's so good. Like, so if you're reading Moon Knight, definitely get this one because there's one point where one of his captors, he sees that Moon Knight has regained his memory and sees him steamrolling through all the henchmen. And he's like, "I'm out of here." And the other bad guy says, "Oh well, of course you're running. Whatever, go do whatever." And he says, "Dude, it's Moon Knight. It's not Captain America. It's not Daredevil. It's freaking Moon Knight. I'm getting out of here." And and for good reason. So an extremely action-packed issue of Moon Knight with fantastic artwork. Highly recommended. This is our A cover. We've got two incentive variants. The 1 in 25 from Phil Noto that we're selling for $19.99. Whoops. And the 1 in 50, Kari Andrews, that we're selling for $44.99. And this cover is both of these covers are very representative of what this book is like.
Well, next up, I've got a really great one. This is G.I. Joe issue 20. And all you have to see is this cover to know how exciting this issue is. This is the first meeting of Duke and Optimus. Notice I didn't say Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Re-Transformers, and you'll know about that from last week. But this actually begins with what was kind of teased at the end of the previous issue with Matt Tracker from Mask going up against Scrap Iron in kind of a derby setting, a kind of a vehicle brawl that is really really cool, and it just shows that we're getting little bits of Mask leading up to the new Mask series that's coming out, just a little bit at a time, but it's doing a really good job hyping it because this is awesome. Now, the main part of this issue is Duke, um, kind of preparing himself to go meet Optimus because he's heard a lot about him. After he saw what Hound did in previous issues, he was really against it at first, and he's kind of tentatively opened himself up to like, I can have a discussion. You say this guy's great. Okay, well, let's see about this. But Duke has been harboring like a lot of hate, uh, all the way back since like the original first issue where Starscream, killed one of his partners and one of his friends, and he's kind of lumped all of the Transformers, all the Autobots and Decepticons all into one group and being like, all these robots are bad. Well, this is the talk we've been waiting for, where Duke meets Optimus, and it's all kind of laid on the line. Duke comes with all of his baggage, and kind of asks Optimus to answer for it, and who was Starscream, and all that. That's really really interesting stuff. I don't want to get into too much depth because you need to read it, but it's given the pathos that it deserves. There's a great two-page spread with both of them on there. That's just like, yep, this is what we've been waiting for. Um, Now there is another part of this as well at the end that's really interesting that actually picks up on a story thread from one of the mini-series that led into G.I. Joe. What do they call it? Was it G.I. Joe Origins now? What they call it in like the trades and stuff?
It's Codename G.I. Joe?
Codename G.I. Joe. It actually picks up on a thread that we have not touched on since then. That looks like that's going to be one of the next big story arcs. There's a lot of really good stuff going on in here, and makes me just super excited for what is to come in the Energon universe as we get closer to issue 25. We get closer to Free Comic Book Day. We get closer to Mask releasing. So yeah, this is a highlight issue in this series.
There's some big stories coming for everything in the Energon universe. Yeah. Like they're still just getting started 2 years in.
Yes. So here is your A cover, which I mean that's fantastic. We also have this really nice Kasara variant, which I think is connecting with a previous Kasara cover with the Joes, on the other side. We've got this really great Invincible Universe variant month with by Milana, which is Cobra versus the Lizard League, which is essentially just Cobra. In the Invincible universe. We also have a 1 in 20 or 1 in 25 Zonjic cover that we're selling for $11.99. And then I love this one. This is the 1 in 50 Jorge Jimenez cover. Jorge Corona that we are selling for $29.99.
Yeah, that one is
with Optimus and Duke.
I want
and
a poster of that.
Yeah, that one's great.
All right, well, we're going to talk about Wonder Woman number 31 as soon as I take care of this right here.
I wonder when we're going to do that.
So we haven't talked about Wonder Woman for a while, but I wanted to come back to it because this is the start of a brand new story arc called The Wonder War. And we have Tom King and Daniel Sampere back on this. New story arc called The Wonder War. And this actually takes place 20 years in the future, where the matriarch has pretty much taken over the world, I guess. It seems like the only heroes that are left are John Kent, Superman, Damian Wayne, Batman, and Trinity. Because we saw in the previous story arc from Tom King and Daniel Sampere, because there was a little 2-issue break in there, but we saw in the previous arc with Mouseman, we saw how Matriarch basically took out all the other heroes, and so now in this issue we've only got the I guess the new Trinity left, and so this issue starts with John Kent, Damian Wayne, and Trinity talking to Lex Luthor about a plan to assassinate the Matriarch later that night at a ceremony where Lex is going to give the matriarch the God Killer sword. And it's cool because he mentioned that he's been, enamored with this sword ever since he first saw it at the Omega tournament or in the Omega tournament. So a nice little callback to DCKO, but not like super huge connective tissue. Now, so the new Trinity and Lex Luthor, they have this plan to take out the matriarch, and I don't want to tell you the details of their plan, how they plan to do it. I don't want to tell you whether or not it was successful, but I will say that it doesn't go as smoothly as they had originally planned. So that gives us some good action scenes from that, and we get a few surprises and some twists and turns and things like that during this whole sequence, which is really cool. So interspersed with this story are some flashback scenes of Lizzie, who's Trinity, and of Lissa, who is the matriarch, because they're the same age, right? They grew up together. We see them on Paradise Island. They're young and they're friends, but they're also rivals, and they're always like competing with each other. And there's not one that dominates. Like there's sometimes Lissa wins, sometimes Lizzie wins, and they're rivals with each other, but they're friends, which makes it a little bit heartbreaking that in the main story, they're now to the point where they want to kill each other. So, that's always kind of sad. But yeah, I really like this story. I was an entire story arc behind, so I went back and caught up on the previous story arc, which does help set this one up. But yeah, so now we're at the start of a brand new story arc, and there's a couple things at there's the last couple pages at the end again really kind of lets you know where this story is going to go, and there's some more twists and turns and things like that. But yeah, a really cool new story. I like these sort of dystopian future stories where there's only a few heroes left and they're kind of the underdogs. I don't know that, I doubt that this will end up being like the official future of the DC universe. I don't care about that. I just like to read. It'll be fun to read on its own, like almost like Old Man Logan, maybe one of those kinds of things. You can just read this story of this future where all the heroes are killed and they're trying to take out the bad guy who did it, and they're on their back foot, that kind of thing. Just a cool new story, and especially with the way it ended, I definitely want to see where it goes. Plus, we get a little bit more of just the relationship that John and Damian and Lizzie have with each other as well, which is always great. So I really liked it a lot. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this. That's the the Eloise cover. He did some great arc on Absolute Wonder Woman, so now he's got a cover with the matriarch.
Next up, I have something pretty fun. This is Thundercats X Silverhawks Road to War #1. This is, I kind of want to check in on this because we haven't talked about Thundercats or Silverhawks or anything in a long time.
And especially since they're coming up on this big new story.
We wanted to kind of check back in with them. So this is by Ed Brisson and Gerardo Gambone. And this is setting up the 15-part crossover event between the two books. So this isn't part of the 15-part. This is the road to. Yeah. And I'll say, of course, I haven't read the next part yet, but I can see where this is setting it up, but not necessary to read that big story. Because in this, we see Chitara, who is having these dreams about a couple of different things happening. And those dreams are the mini stories in here. So the kind of the bookends of this are Chitara talking about this. But first she has a dream about Lion-O when he's a kid, and kind of him learning to be the kind of hero that he's going to become later. About should he step in, or when someone makes him real mad, is he going to fight them, or what's he going to do? The second story is a Silverhawks story that's really interesting, that takes place like in the future after a certain thing has happened. And then we get a big one that is the Thunderhawks story, which is set on a different Earth, and it is kind of the Thunderans with Silverhawks armor. And we're kind of introduced to some new stuff there that's going to be interesting and going to play a big part in the big crossover event coming up.
Yeah, and I think that third story has some connective tissue with the Thundercats Lost theory, where there's some Thundercats stuck in the future, I think. So it's connected to that.
Yeah, but what I also did really like about this is there is a checklist in it for the the upcoming event, so you can see on there what books are going to be involved in that, like the new Mumra, the Ever Living series that's
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out, and
Is that going to
all
be part
it.
of it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
part of it. So you get to see a lot of that stuff, which is going to be helpful because when you got 15 parts, it can be a little overwhelming. So we'll probably check in when this big event starts, and I don't know if we'll cover everything, but maybe the start of it we will.
Marvel looks at this event and says 15 parts. Those are rookie numbers.
Yeah. But I thought this was fun. I really like the art in the Thundercats part. The first story had really, really good art.
I agree.
So here is your A cover. And we got to show off this variant because it is really, really cool. This is the Faia cover that's a nice homage.
Yeah, to X-Men 235,
something like that.
Something like
yeah.
that, 238.
With Wolverine and
Captain America and Black Widow.
And Black Widow, yeah.
That's it?
Yep.
Oh, I thought it's a Dynamite. I was like, oh, there must be like 20 covers. Okay, let's see what we got here. All right, so here we have Super Creepshow #1. Now, this is we had a one shot of this before, I think, but now it's a 5-issue series. So you guys know the deal with Creepshow. Every issue is 2 quick little one and done stories, unrelated to anything else. Well, so this is that, but these have a little bit of a superhero flavor to them, if you will. So the first story is called Creeping. It's from Kieran Gillen and Rossi Gifford. And it's about this high school boy named Marcus, and he's kind of an underachiever. He struggles to fit in. He gets picked on a lot and that kind of thing. And he likes to hide out in this old shed to sort of get away from everybody. And one day he gets bitten by a mysterious spider, which, you know, that story sounds a little bit familiar, right? But I will say that after he gets bitten by that spider, he does not put on a red and blue costume, and he does not fight supervillains. It's something much worse, and I'll let you read that. There's another story I really like called Speed Freak, written by Ryan North. The art is by Derek Charm, and I love that it's written by Ryan North because Ryan North's new run of Flash starts next week, and it's phenomenal. Can't wait to talk about that one. But in this story, there's a teenage boy named Ron, and he has a friend named Betty. And they're both also kind of underachieved, or I guess they're just not in the popular crowd. They get picked on sometimes. And Ron thinks that it would be cool to have super speed. He thinks, oh, if you can go fast enough, then you're practically invisible, and it would feel like you're flying. So it's like the best of both worlds kind of thing. And he tells Betty that if he ever were to have super speed, he would protect her from everybody who picks on them. Well, one morning, Ron wakes up and finds a ring under his pillow that when he puts it on, it grants him super speed. He doesn't know where it came from, and we don't either. And he uses his new speed powers to try to help people who need help. He's rescuing cats from getting hit by cars, and
he starts with really good intentions.
Yeah, it's a typical like I'm helping the little guy, right? It's pretty typical like that. But then he realizes that he can also use his new powers to get revenge on the people who bullied him and Betty. And maybe he takes it a bit far, and it just gets pretty bonkers after that. So really cool, 2 just creepy stories. You can read these in any order, any issue in any order. But yeah, these have a little bit of a superhero feel to them. So there's your A cover right there. And we have this, this is the Giandomenico cover right there. So there's your Deathstroke artist. And then this is the Gifford Invincible team up variant with, we got Invincible, we got Adam Eve, Alan and Omni-Man all there fighting. Oh, the creep,
Are they fighting, or they just teamed up?
Well, I don't know. They're doing something. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, I really like those stories because I mean they know their audience.
Right.
They know we're comic book fans, and so we know these stories.
Yep.
But to see not even just like, oh, what if it went bad for Spider-Man? No, this is like, what if it really bad and really kind of gross and all of that.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than just a what if story. It's completely
I will say
different.
the weird thing that it said at the end of it was that check out the next issue in October.
Oh.
But the next issue is like next month.
Oh.
So I don't know what happened
Yeah, I
here,
don't know.
if it got messed up or whatever, but
Maybe this was supposed to come out last September? I'm not
that's
sure.
what I was wondering about. But yeah, no, the next issue I think is on FOC for this coming week.
Okay.
So
it's fun.
yeah, I really liked it. Well, next up I have Wade Wilson, Deadpool issue #2. And you know, this is the this is a funny series for us because both of us are not huge Deadpool
Right.
fans. I can take a little bit of Deadpool, but a little bit more than that goes a long way. But I really like the first issue of this, and it continues on here, which I might have liked this issue even better.
I did.
Yeah,
Better than the
I
first
thought
one.
this was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So the first issue saw Wade Wilson Deadpool. Something has happened to his daughter or his daughters that we don't quite know, but Deadpool is kind of now like all out. I don't care if I get hurt. I don't know how extreme. I don't care how extreme it gets. I'm gonna fight and do all this stuff. Um, and then he gets this mysterious note that comes out of the air that essentially tells him something that's about to happen. Kind of an attack that's going to happen, or
It's like a train derailment. He says like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
train's going to derail at such and such time," and so he goes to stop it.
And it happens. Like
Yeah.
it's right. And then so it's weird, and we don't know where that came from. Well, here more notes start showing up, including one that says like this train is going to get taken over by these crazy clowns.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, let's see. And yep, that happens. And then what follows is just tons of these notes, and all of them are correct about something that's about to happen.
And he has no idea where they're coming from. We
Yeah.
don't either. They just show up.
There's some crazy stuff that happens, from like normal like superhero stuff, saving people from a burning building, to a zombie submarine
Yeah.
that comes out of the ocean. That's really, really fun. But of course, this is Deadpool, and so it's not enough just to do good. He starts thinking, how can I profit off of this?
How can I monetize
How
this?
can I monetize this? And when people are in danger, maybe he asks for a little something to help them. But a lot of this is, juxtaposed with he's having some like nightmares about his daughter. What happened to her? Why is he having these dreams of her? All of that. It's building a pretty deep story for a character that for a lot of it is very slapstick.
Mhm.
But what I do like about this is he's quippy, he does all that, but it's not egregious.
Yeah.
It's not just walls of text. And
It
it's
feels
not as
it's like one rung above Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it's not to the point where it's like, oh, I have to read so much useless dialogue
Yeah.
that doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever just because he's wacky. It's not that overbearing.
yeah, and it's not as like crazy as like he's like wearing a tutu and he's got this.
He's
got
going through
this.
time and
Yeah,
it's
it's
nothing
not
like
that. It feels
Yeah.
more of him like back as kind of a mercenary type character.
Yeah, I liked it.
So I thought this was really fun. Highly recommend this one. One of the best Deadpool series I think we've got in a while. So there's your A cover with all of those clowns. It also has usually like the little like editor's notes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're fun. Sometimes they're like okay whatever. I thought this actually had some pretty funny ones.
Yeah.
We also have this Ian Churchill Doom variant. And we have this 1 in 25 Rod Rice variant. That's really cool. We're selling for $14.99.
All right, I've got End of Life #2, which was the second of the new wave of Vertigo books from DC, and I really like that. This is my favorite of the three that we've gotten so far. This title is, and half of this issue is spent with Eddie Stallion, who's your main character on the cover right here. He is with his dad at the Pluto Farmers Market because he's, remember the last issue, he's hiding from some mercenaries who are coming after him in this small town called Pluto. So, and that's where his dad lives. So he's with his dad. He's at the Pluto Farmers Market, and it's funny because it's completely foreign to Eddie, who is like a big city kind of guy. It's completely foreign to him that people in the small town come together and they sell their wares like crops and candles and things like that. It's like this is weird that people are just like trading goods and like
Being
just
friendly.
yeah, being friendly and happy and stuff. So that's funny. And his relationship with his dad is funny too, which probably it shouldn't be, but
Mark funny.
it's because they have a very strained relationship. So Eddie finds out that his father has stage 4 lung cancer that is just incurable, and Eddie shows zero remorse for that because his father was so mean to him growing up. And his father, in turn, threatens to kill him all the time. Like Eddie wakes up and his father has a shotgun in his face at one point. and they're just like,
It's also kind of the story in Hot Rod.
right, it's kind of like that, but it's not as funny.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit funny. But they're still hanging out together, but they really don't like each other, which is kind of funny. So Eddie is really, really desperate to get out of the Menagerie's crosshairs, which is the group of assassins that he used to work for. He's trying to get out of their crosshairs, so he tries to get back the stuff that he and the Murder Brothers stole from the head of the Menagerie last issue. He's like, maybe if I can just get it all back and return it, they'll they'll drop it and we can move on. So he tries to get that stuff back, and maybe that proves to be a bad idea. And I'll leave it at that. So yeah, really cool. I still really like this. Eddie is a you love to hate you love to hate him. There's nothing really redeemable about him at all, but he's still kind of a compelling character to read about. I like it a lot. So there's our A cover, and that's the only cover we have.
Well, next up, we got an Absolute book. This is Absolute Flash number 13. And this is one of my favorite issues of this series so far. For one, the art by Haining in this is really, really great. And this starts our next big story arc for Absolute Flash. We kind of got past our Training Wheels story arc, and now this feels way more Flash-like. Wally's back at the Dibney Youth Mission, which is great. You know, if you know Ralph Dibney, he's there, and that's where Linda lives. And you see Wally interact with Linda a little bit more. They kind of have this like flirty back and forth. But Linda reveals, I know you have superpowers. And of course, he tries to ignore it or deny it for a long time. But she's like, I've got a picture on my phone. There's pictures of you everywhere, but I have the one that actually has your face on it. And it's very playful, but she's like, you got to show me your powers and how they work and all of that. Of course, he takes her for a ride that freaks her out and everything. But Wally really opens up to her about his past and his parents, and we learn what happened with his mother, which is really, really sad, and what happened with his dad in the previous storyline, where his dad is now stuck in the Still Force after the big fight in the last one with Thawne. But, you know, Linda is right in here with this, and she's like, well, I've got an idea how you can save your dad. And that seems to be what's going to happen going forward. She's got an idea, but they're going to run into a pretty serious obstacle very, very fast. I like this because it's those two kind of teamed up for this mission, and also there's something in this that ties back with another Absolute book from a little while back that is kind of a dangling plot thread that maybe is going to be picked up on here. So great issue of Absolute Flash. Really, really like this one.
I got to get caught up on this.
So there is your A cover. We have a really nice Pagulayan variant. We've got this De Tomaso variant with Grodd. And there is also this Scott Hepburn cover. He kind of has impulse proportions there, and I really like that.
We've got Cyclops number 2 to kind of go along with Deadpool number 2 that we talked about a second ago. And in this one, Cyclops wakes up after being knocked out from where his Quinjet crashed in the forest last issue. And he wakes up and he finds that he's actually been moved away from the crash site by a young girl named May, who was the young girl that the Reavers were chasing last issue. And Cyclops' visor was broken in the crash, so he's essentially blind, right? He's having to keep his eyes closed. He asks May to help him get back to the crash site because he has some spare glasses in there. But it's not going to be easy to get there because the Reavers know that he's out there, and they kind of deduced that he's by himself. So they're like, it's not the X-Men, it's not the Avengers, it's just Cyclops. We can take him down pretty easy. And one of the Reavers named Endzone actually finds Cyclops in May. And so Cyclops has to fight him without using his sight or his optic blast. And it's really cool because, it's kind of feels like Jed McKay's Cyclops, who is a complete like a badass kind of guy. So I really like this a lot. So it's just
Even with
Cyclops.
this hindrance,
Yeah.
he can still take care of himself.
Yeah, let's say he's trained for this. You know,
Yeah.
he's trained for everything, right? So just another really cool issue of Cyclops. I just like seeing Cyclops be awesome and no fear, confident, instead of being like the more militant kind of guy who he was a few years ago. So yeah, really, really cool issue of Cyclops. There's your A cover. This is the cool Dave Johnson Doom
Yeah.
variant. And then there's this really, really nice Dan Panosian variant. That's my Cyclops right there.
Well, next up, I have Amazing Spider-Man number 24. This is part 4 of Death Spiral. And in this one, Spider-Man and Venom catch up with Carnage, who they think have been doing all of these big attacks and everything before, because it's kind of had a calling card that has said Carnage on it. Only when they get there, they learn that, hey, that wasn't Carnage that did that. That was Torment. And they kind of are filled in a little bit on who Torment is. But we know that Carnage has been secretly working with Torment. We don't fully know all the reasons, other than maybe this is a way that Carnage can kind of unleash what he wants to do. There's some nice back and forth in here between Peter and Mary Jane as they're swinging through the city and all that. I wouldn't say this really pushes the Death Spiral story too much. It's more of like a from point A to point B. Okay, now that we're here.
I will say that Spider-Man and Venom and Carnage do all finally come face to face with Torment. It only took 4 issues to do that, but yeah, here we are.
It has a very interesting final page where, you know, we kind of see part of what Carnage has been doing all along. But yeah, this was a fun issue. Doesn't move, like I said, the story forward a ton, but you know, this is a 9-part story, so there's gonna be some highs and lows in the action. But yeah, here is your A cover. We've got this Hawthorne variant. I love how bright red and blue Spider-Man is on that. We've got this Rod Rice Doom variant. We've got of course, the great Ivan Coelho 9-part connecting cover. We have to sneeze.
Yep.
We have this is the classified spoiler cover. This doesn't mean anything for this issue. That's Spider-Man and I guess Mary Jane.
A tiny Mary Jane.
These were called like the next target variants, but she's in the Venom suit.
I mean, I'm assuming they're both targets, right? I guess.
So there's that one. I think that's by Marc Bagley. We've got a Doily variant. This is a 1 in 25. We're selling for $19.99 as they are entering the Death Spiral. We do know more about what Torment's Death Spiral is.
A little bit, yeah.
And this is the Liber Mayho. This is the 1 in 100 connecting cover that we are selling for, as you would say, just under $120.
Just under.
Just shy.
Well, we've got the Ultimates number 22. Only 2 more issues to go after this one. And this is the final showdown between Captain America and the Grand Skull here. We got a little bit of a taste of that in a previous issue of Ultimates. I don't remember which number it was. But if you read that issue and you know who the Grand Skull really is, then you know how tragic this whole thing is. And this issue focuses on Captain America, Hawkeye, and Quicksilver. They are trying to get into the Grand Skull's base, but the base is heavily fortified. But they do get some help from an unexpected ally to try to help them get in there. And then from there, it's just an all-out fight between with Cap, Hawkeye, and Quicksilver versus a base full of the Grand Skull's goons. It's very action-packed. Like, this doesn't really have anything to do with Ultimate Endgame whatsoever. This could have fit in really anywhere at any point in time. During the Ultimate series, I did really like it because it focuses on Captain America. And Ultimate Captain America hasn't really been had much of a chance to shine over these last couple of years. But yeah, this was really cool. Probably maybe one of my favorite issues of the Ultimates, just because of the characters and the story and that kind of thing. It's not very Ultimate Endgame heavy. You can just read it on its own pretty much, and it's really good. So there's our A cover right there, and This is our Jonas Scharf cover. And oh, I love this one. This is the 1 in 25 Francesco Manna cover that was selling for $14.99. That looks awesome. Wish we could have gotten a mini series of this.
I know. Especially this story feels like it could have been
Yes.
told in a
Oh,
mini
for
series.
sure. There's so much to this. They absolutely could have filled a 5 or 10 issue series.
Well, you know, we had to save one of the best for last, or close to last. The book you've all been waiting to hear about. It is Baby Garfield #1. This is, I believe, a mini series. Now you don't need to know anything about the Baby Garfield that have come before or after. This is slightly connected with the previous Garfield movie. But if you're familiar with Garfield, the character, you should be good to jump in right here with Baby Garfield #1.
You don't have to read like Garfield Year One or
No, no. This is great for new readers. So Baby Garfield #1 is by Grace Ellis and Asia Simone and Michael Northrop and Rob Justice, which there's 2 short stories in here. I just want to know how deep I can talk about this without like you know, the lore of Baby Garfield.
Right.
You don't have to have read all of Jim Davis's run of Garfield that was syndicated in the newspaper to understand this. But no, this is really cute. This is really fun. So 2 stories. The first story is about what was Garfield's first word and how did he do it. He's really hungry and John isn't picking up on his hints, even though literally he's like building like neon signs that say like feed me and stuff. So that's really cute as it builds up to, can he muster up a meow to get John's attention? And the second one is about Garfield's first hairball. And he's looking really ragged. John wants to brush him, but Garfield doesn't like that. So he decides to groom himself, and hilarity ensues with that. This is really cute. It's fun for all ages. I thought the art in this was really good. Baby Garfield #1. Don't miss it. Pick of the week. Spec book of the week. Maybe book of the year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Big stuff. So here's your A cover by Agnes Garboska, who I love her art. We also have this one. This is the Justice cover. That is your second artist on here. We have a almost a blank sketch cover, but with all these little baby Garfield heads. It's really cute. And there's even some incentives. There's a 1 in 10 black and white Garboska variant we're selling for $9.99. And this is the 1 in 15 Simone cover. That's your other interior artist on it that we are selling for $14.99. Get some Garfield.
So we have Nightwing #136, which is the start of a brand new story arc, a good jumping on point. So Dan Watters is still the writer, but now Dennis Cowan is the artist on this. Start of a new story arc. I don't remember the name. Oh, wait a minute. It's on the cover. Sorry. The Crossroads is what it's called. And there's this new superhighway that's been built through the middle of Bloodhaven. And it's literally, it's this giant interstate that runs north, south, and east, west as well. And there's like 4 different boroughs of Bloodhaven in the corners of it, essentially. Well, it's helps people, get from one place to another, but there's been a lot of accidents. There's been some deaths on it already because it's such a high traffic interstate there. And so Nightwing says, to really see the city from this level, I can't be jumping from rooftop to rooftop. I need to be on the ground so I can see everything. So he gets in his muscle car, which I guess is the Nightwing mobile, kind of, which is funny because it actually does have like the blue bird on the hood and some blue stripes, and he drives the highway just so he can try to figure out what is going on. Why are people getting killed on this highway? And he does pick up a girl who's walking down literally the middle of this real busy highway. She looks completely out of it. It seems like she doesn't know where she is or what's going on. So she gets in the car with him. And a lot of this issue is them in the car having this conversation. I don't want to spoil what happens, but let's just say the girl isn't who or what she appears to be. And she does maybe have some ties to this highway, to these crossroads. You'll see why it's called this when you read it. But Yeah, I mean it's the ending is pretty tragic, and again we've said it all of this episode. It's gonna be the catalyst for what happens for the
Mm.
rest of with the rest of this story arc, and that's where the real meat and potatoes are gonna be is in the next part. But yeah, new story arc for Nightwing, new artist, new jumping on point. So there's your A cover. We got a few variants for this one. This is the Jeff Spokes cover right there. This is the Jay Lee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay Lee cover right there. And then this is the corner box. That's the Jimenez. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jimenez corner box foil variant right there.
Well, next up, there's some books. We're entering into our Speed Force round that we're briefly going to show. We're not going to show any of the variants, or we might show one or two if they're just really, really cool. These are books that we enjoyed. Everything we just, you know,
They're a little bit further in, maybe to
Yeah.
their stories, or not in the case of this.
yeah. Unfortunately, this is a big book, and I did not get a chance to read it as in depth as I could. This is Pickup. This is a one shot by Michael Costa and Felipe Cunha. It's kind of about like he's a little bit of a dude, bro. Like
Yeah.
pickup. It's about a pickup artist.
He's a lifestyle
Yeah.
guy that helps guys with women and that kind of thing.
Yeah, he's got a YouTube show, all of that. But as you can see on the cover, starts out well and it goes south
Yeah.
pretty fast.
Yeah, he
Be
gets
careful who you
involved.
pick up.
Yeah, he gets involved in a murder mystery. We'll say that.
Yeah. But this is an oversized issue that is $6.99, but all one and done issue there.
Well, we've got Infernal Hulk number 5, and in this one, the Hulk fights the one above all. It's very action packed. It's pretty crazy, and also Bruce Banner makes a decision about what he's gonna do, and
He'll have the pasta.
that's right. That's right. But yeah, a very action packed. Another crazy Hulk smashing things, fighting the one above all. It's crazy. There's the A cover, but we did want to show this really awesome Scon Doom variant, just
He's
because
got
that.
Doom's like or a Doombot head.
Yeah,
in his hand.
in his hand up there. Yeah, dude, we just wanted to show that one because it's so cool.
Next up, I just want to briefly mention Planet She-Hulk, issue number 5. This is over at 7.
6.
6. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was wondering. But this is really sad because you could tell there was a lot of story yet to
Yeah.
come. This ends with a pretty big moment. There's a big reveal about a certain character in this. All of that. But we know since the series was cut short, and Stephanie Williams has said that there was a part that had to be changed.
She said that number 6. She's like, you'll notice number 6 feels different than the rest of
Yeah.
it because we had to cut it short. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can see the cover for the next issue, what's gonna happen, and yeah, I'm just kind of sad that this didn't get to reach its full potential.
Yeah.
Because where this leaves off would have been a really cool story. But yeah, still been a really fun miniseries for Planet She-Hulk.
We've got Captain America number 8, which
This is Stephanie Williams.
Stephanie Phillips.
Stephanie
Yeah.
Phillips.
We've got Captain America number 8, which is part 3 of this Doom's Shadow story they're telling. Captain America meets with the leaders of both the Homeland Party and the Latvian Liberators, who are 2 of the 3 groups who are trying to take Latveria for themselves. He meets with them at the same time to try to figure out what to do about Salvation, who is kind of the bad guy who is trying to essentially become the next Doctor Doom. They take Captain America to a camp where there is supposed to be a master list of locations of all Doom's weapons so that they can just hurry up and get all those weapons and get out of the country with them. But what they find there is something, they find something else instead. Plus, General Ross gets really angry when the U.S. government refuses to make a move on Latveria. And they're, the U.S. government basically says, we're just going to stay out of it. We don't have any, we don't want to deal with all that stuff.
And he says, "Can't you see my Hulk eyes?"
Right. Well,
I'm angry.
General Ross
General Hulk.
General Ross does get angry about that and decides to take matters into his own hands. And that actually may play a part in the Armageddon story later.
Yeah.
We're not quite sure. But yeah, Captain America number 8.
And last for me, I've got Ultimate Wolverine, issue number 15. This is the penultimate issue of Ultimate Wolverine. We get more backstory on Magic, which is really interesting. It seems like maybe that's going to be his final showdown might be with Magic in this. Also, he starts reverting back to his Winter Soldier programming. Can Phoenix help break him of that? Also, this does deal a little bit with the kind of fallout of the dome in Endgame and all of that, and how it's affecting the area around the dome.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. But yep, one more issue of Ultimate Wolverine to go, and there is your A cover.
I've got 3 more real quick. This is Thor or Mortal Thor number 8, whatever you want to call it. And this issue follows Magna, who is the son of Thor, as he attempts to install a new king of Muspelheim. And the Enchantress launches a magical arrow from way across the 10 realms that is aimed at one target very specifically, and there's a reason why she takes aim at that target. I didn't love this one as much. I'm really loving more the story of Sigurd Jarlson on Earth. And this doesn't have him in it at all, but still a pretty cool issue. We've also got Ghost Pepper number 9.
This was a big issue.
Yeah,
for
which is, for sure. Yeah, this has been ramping up the last couple issues. Ash launches a full frontal assault on Batar, but he's not alone in that assault. This is a very action-packed issue with fantastic artwork. So it feels like maybe we're coming to the end. I don't know if this is only a 10-issue thing, but it feels like they're reaching a finale. So I'm not sure if next issue is the last one or not. And then the last one,
for like a chapter,
a story
1,
arc, yeah. The last one I have is X-Men number 27. This is the Danger Room Part 2. And this one's cool because we meet the team behind this new Danger Room that we saw last issue. We learn what bad things they did in the past, and we also learn how they systematically planned to take down the X-Men. I'll go and tell you, like, they're not the most powerful group of individuals, but they were still able to dismantle the X-Men in a very strategic way.
And they have something in common.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It was just cool to hear their plans for how to divide up the X-Men in the most effective way possible, even though they're not maybe necessarily a physical match for them. So I love those kinds of stories. So yeah, another really good issue of Jed MacKay's X-Men.
And that is it. This was a big week. We kind of went overtime, but we had so much to talk about. So many number 1, so many kind of big books, big kind of like landmark issues going forward that we had to talk about. And you couldn't get us to shut up about them. But like we mentioned before, these will go fast. So head on over to infinityflux.net right now. Order these books while supplies last. We had people ordering them while we were doing the video, which is awesome. That's what we're here for, is to let you know about them so you know if they are for you or not. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. We'll be doing our show on Wednesday, where we'll be going over some of the books that you can pre-order by this coming weekend, and every week it just gets bigger and bigger and more exciting, so don't miss out on that.
There's no small weeks.
There's no small weeks anymore. We need to adjust our barometer.
Yeah.
So, only 30 books is like, it's a medium week.
Right.
But, again, thank you so much for watching. And is that it?
That's it.
That's it. Until next time, see ya.